I think a couple of our audience might wonder why Henkel is actually here today, and I would like to start with a very brief introduction. Yes, we are an important player of the automotive industry, even though many probably of the audience know Henkel predominantly from Persil, our detergents, our cosmetic products like Schwarzkopf or Dial. But we are going to introduce more about our role in the automotive industry for a second. And then for sure, we will also take a look at how diversity is lived and being driven at Henkel. Because I think we've achieved a lot in the past, but we also have an ambitious agenda ahead of us. And Christian and I are going to share a few more details about that. Just to conclude the introduction, as rightly stated, I'm heading what we call the market segment of EPIC. That is all gasketing and bonding solutions in the areas of exterior, powertrain, interior, and chassis. And Christian, I think you can share a little bit more the scope of your activities also for the whole of Europe and IMEA.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Micha, and also Imke, for the very nice introduction. A very warm welcome also from my side. And it's actually not just a pleasure, but even an honor to be invited to this forum here today and to talk side by side virtually with so many interesting speakers. So, as said, my name is Christian Köhling. I am here at Henkel, responsible as a vice president for all our activities in automotive components for the area of Europe, India, Middle East, and Africa. I've been with the company now for roughly 10 years, and before that, I worked several years in strategy consulting. And to get started, I would like to begin with a little overview of Henkel. And as you can see here on the slide, Imke already said it, half of the company is basically fast-moving consumer goods. So that is products that you can use for your laundry, for your home care, for beauty care, for hair care. We have a lot of products and brands that you hopefully know from your private use at home. But what is not so much known to the public is that the other half of Henkel is basically an industrial business B2B segment. We call that Adhesive Technologies. And that is, I guess, fair to say it's the more profitable, the faster growing, and from an engineering perspective, much more exciting part of the business. The overall company has a lot of heritage. We are in striking distance to reach 150 years of existence. Just the adhesive part is celebrating 100 years of business this year. We are very proud of that. And on the following pages, I would like to take a bit of a deeper look into what we are actually doing. So we are structured in 4 divisions. In each of them, we have globally leading positions. We are focusing on different market segments, and every division is focusing on a unique set of customers. I would like to start a bit unusual from right to left. And first segment is focusing on companies in craftsman and construction business. And here we are offering solutions for tiling, for insulation, but also a lot of solutions and products for repair and maintenance for companies who used to repair big machines, for maintenance of wind parks and so on. So wherever something needs to be fixed and repaired, overhauled, our solutions come into play here in this division. The second division from the right is called Electronics and Industrials. And here we work together with leading innovators in the area of semiconductor manufacturing, handheld devices, smartphones, also medical devices, IT infrastructure, and also aerospace. So a lot of interaction with leading companies in this area. And then the third division is focusing on packaging and consumer goods. And what we mean with that is here we offer solutions for basically, or for instance, sustainable food packaging, for sustainable and safe food packaging, solutions like adhesives for sneakers, for paper, but also for furniture. So whatever you buy as a product, as an end consumer, where adhesive technology is involved, this you find in this division. And then on the very left-hand side, this is finally why we are all here today. We have one division focusing on automotive and metals. And here on the next page, I would like to explore a little bit more in detail how our business model works and what we are actually doing and how we're actually working with our customers. Our customers in this segment, the customers of Imke, me, and the whole team, these are on the one side the automotive OEMs directly, but also to a large degree the automotive suppliers and also players in the aftermarket business. So what we offer is basically technologies, material, adhesives, sealants, functional coatings, thermal interface materials, but also cleaners and lubricants. And specifically in automotive, we are targeting applications and are leading in, for instance, car body assembly, in components for e-mobility, such as batteries, e-motors, inverters, converters, and the like, but also other electronic components like displays, like control modules and cameras. And the solutions we offer is actually what you need to assemble and protect these components. So the engineers in all these companies that I mentioned, that probably many of you are working in, they design and manufacture these components, but we offer them solutions with our materials to manufacture them and to protect them during the use phase. And just as an example, to explain why it's so important to not just know the material, but also how it's used, just think about a radar system. And in order to be able to develop an innovative material for heat dissipation in a radar system, you definitely need to understand how such a radar system is designed, how is it manufactured, what actually the application process is, what equipment you need, and so on, and which properties of this radar system are crucial in the use phase. And only then you can come up with innovative ideas to say, why don't we add dielectric strength to our dissipation material? Or why don't we add electromagnetic shielding properties to our material? And that's actually how we and our engineers think, and how we then jointly with our customers develop solutions for these areas. And how we think about innovation, how we organize ourselves. For that, I would like to hand over back to Imke to explain you a little bit about that one.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Share with our audience, because I wonder if you all know that Henkel already had first solutions in the very first automotive autos that were produced back in the 1920s. So even with the early Ford models, Henkel solutions were already there. And if we look at it today, we have more than 10,000 customer approval across the leading OEMs and manufacturers, which means that if you assume that more or less 150 cars are produced every minute worldwide, out of those 150 cars, roughly 140 have at least one Henkel application involved. How is this possible? That's a very fair question. Christian stated it already. For us, innovation is utmost important. We have currently roughly 400 patents in the automotive industry, and the trend is growing. We focus our innovation in 8 major hubs globally. And in those hubs, we really have dedicated experts working on developing and improving automotive solutions. And for us, innovation is omnipresent. Just to give you an example, e-mobility, I mean, that's the big thing in the automotive industry right now. For us, that circles a lot around battery and battery solutions. We have over 50 battery solution experts working at Henkel, because we've really defined ourselves the target to have the broadest and most innovative portfolio in this area, which is covering not only thermal solution like liquid gap fillers, but also topics like functional coatings and bonding and gasketing solutions that are all circling around the battery. Innovation for us also means sustainability. And if I can share a specific example out of my area, my team is also responsible for headlamp bonding. You can imagine headlamp bonding is a safety critical part. It's also a very expensive component, actually. And with one of our products, the Terrazone RB4040, we currently have a 100% debondable solution. This means the component can be disassembled, repaired or corrected or maintained, and then reassembled afterwards, which of course reduces scrap, reduces waste, and also makes it much more efficient in the recycling process at the end of the life cycle of a product. And there's many other solutions where we are focusing on sustainability. you can imagine with a broad portfolio of ours, there's different elements that we focus on. It's sustainable raw materials, renewable raw materials, but it's also the topics of CO2 footprint reduction, recycling and debondability, to really make sure that our portfolio and the solutions that we are developing together with the customers are addressing the current needs and the demands also from the entire industry. How is this possible, you wonder? And this is, I think, a nice bridge to the topic also of diversity. For us, this is only possible with a diverse team. And we heard it in the introduction. Henkel has set the target of having a 50-50 gender parity by 2025. If you ask me personally, I think we are very well positioned to actually achieve it. Today, we are at 38% female leaders in the management positions, and we have a lot of interesting initiatives running to drive that even further. But of course, as always, the picture is not as bright as it might seem on this slide. And Christian and I have been discussing a little bit on how to best talk further about the topic of diversity at Henkel. And we felt, instead of bringing further slides that just show our initiatives and the topics we are doing from a corporate perspective, by the way, all those informations, I guess, are available on the internet. We felt it's much more relevant to share a little bit our personal experience, to give you a glimpse behind the scenes, so to speak, to share with you success cases, but maybe also the challenges that we see here and there when it comes to really achieving our target as a diverse company. We discussed a bit and selected a couple of topics, so you can see here. Let me read them out for you just for a second. On the one hand side, we will talk a bit more about diversity and how diversity is more than just the gender question in our eyes. We also talk about recruiting, and I think we heard it in some of the presentations earlier. Recruiting is easier said than done, especially in some areas. We will also share success stories around sponsoring and mentoring. And we'll talk a bit about culture and how culture is strongly influencing diversity. Let me talk first a little bit about diversity is more than gender. I shared with you my team is responsible for very traditional applications in the car, exterior powertrain, interior and chassis. You can imagine I have a highly qualified, very technical sales force behind it. In total, I have a team of roughly 50 people. And if I look at the gender spread of my team right now, I have to admit that I'm far away from the target that we've set ourselves. I currently have 13 females in my team, out of which only 5 are actually working in sales. That's less than 10%. However, if I look at the team from different angles, I would say I have a pretty diverse team overall, because if I look at nationalities, only in Europe, I have 13 different nationalities in my team. I have people with a tenure ranging from 3 months to 47 years. Imagine it, I had a colleague retiring this summer with a tenure of 47 years with Henkel, which I think is amazing. And if I take it even one step further, if I look at academic backgrounds, I have colleagues from roughly 18 different careers. Many of them have chemical or engineering backgrounds, but I also have a colleague that has a master's degree in cultural science or a product design engineer. And I even have a colleague that is an aviation specialist. So depending on how you interpret the topic of diversity, it is more than gender. And I believe diversity lives from this variety of different aspects. And that's what's helping us take ad hoc decisions, diverse decisions, and think out of the box whenever necessary. Christian, do you want to talk a little bit more about recruiting?
Very happy to explore the second theme, which is about diversity awareness in recruiting. And Imke, you already said it, the overall level is going in the right direction, but of course, there's quite a difference between certain areas. I mean, if you take you now and the other market segment heads, I mean, there we already actually reached 50%. Yeah. So in my team, we actually have 50% female share. And that is good. But in other areas, we are still struggling. And for sure, recruiting is definitely, of course, an instrument to improve the gender ratio. So we are extensively hiring. Over the last 12 months, we filled 50 new positions globally. And also today, we still have roughly 20 positions open. So what do? We, of course, aiming to further improve the gender ratio, but we decided that of course, we have an overarching ambition, but on the single positions, we don't work with strict quotas. But what we set ourselves as the ambition that whenever we fill a position, that the short list of candidates at least needs to be filled with 50% female shares. So whoever is hiring manager in my team, I ask them, you can only proceed if you have at least 50% female candidates in your short list of candidates. So that at least helps a lot to bring this topic forward. But then, of course, what we're observing sometimes is that it depends heavily on the position. Yeah. So for the management positions, it's already a bit easier. But then in some technical areas, when we try to hire application engineers, we are in some countries suffering to just get the sufficient number of applicants. Yeah. And then we realized already a long time ago, it is just not sufficient to just put out ads and work with recruiting agencies. What we actually need to go one step further actually to the technical universities, into the communities to talk to the people before they actually start searching and looking for jobs. It is about exciting them that working at Adhesive Technologies is not about selling glue. It's about developing high impact materials and, shaping the future of mobility. And it's not by using glossy slides, it's actually sending our female talents, our engineers there to talk about their daily life and their daily routines here at Henkel Adhesive Technologies. That is our experience. This really makes a difference and also led to the success that we had in the last years already here in this area. So Imke, you want to proceed maybe with the next topic?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, sponsoring and mentoring. I imagine that many of you have programs like that within your companies, and Henkel does a lot around that too. We have dedicated programs that focus on coaching younger talents, younger female talents also. We have specific sponsoring programs for identified talents, and there's a lot going on to support our female colleagues across the globe as such. To me, that is a very important topic, honestly. And if I look at my own personal career, I must say I had a very dear sponsor at the early stage of my career who really helped me to develop. And if I look at it, for me, this sponsoring relationship was a little bit of two things. It was on the one hand side somebody who is there, he's supporting you, who is encouraging you, who gives you really a push in the right direction, but also sometimes the critical voice, right? Somebody who speaks open, who gives you the feedback that others might not give you, and who helps you shape your profile and reflect on topics along the path. I think that is crucial. It means you need to establish a certain basis of trust on the one hand side, but once this trust is established, you can clearly benefit from it. And honestly, if you ask me, it's often a mutual benefit that derives from such a coaching or sponsoring relationship. As said, for me, it's a very dear topic. I personally have two mentees within the Henkel organization, and actually I have a mentee here out of the Women in Automotive network. With all three, I'm having very inspiring discussions around current challenges, reflections on where they stand in their current career, what's next, what's up to come. And I think it is a great opportunity to share my experience, topics I did, challenges I faced in the past, and share a few reflections on that. And for me, this doesn't necessarily always have to be in the same industry, in the same area of responsibility. So one of the mentees I have, for example, is an expert in controlling and finance in our North America organization. Clearly somebody I would typically not have interactions with on a day-to-day basis. But even this distance helps sometimes to look at topics from a very neutral perspective and really share some topics outside the given environment and framework. And for me, that is, as I said, something that really matters, because it helps us to support talents and to really help develop and grow a broad and diverse colleague base. And as I said, trust is something that is a key pillar of this relationship within the sponsoring and mentoring environment. And Christian, I think we both agree that trust is crucial, and it's something that Henkel really has a big foot in there, right?
Definitely, Imke. And first of all, again, many thanks for the real important role that you play in our organization for the topic of mentoring and sponsorship. But as you already said, I would like to conclude with even another thought, and that is that, of course, diversity is a super important topic. And for good reasons, we are putting a lot of emphasis on this topic. But for me, this is just one aspect of a broader leadership principle. And that is basically treating employees not as human resources, but as human beings. And that starts with treating them as individuals with a unique set of skills, values, beliefs, fears, also a very personal background. And it's the obligation, not just for myself, but also for Imke and the whole leadership team, to create such a culture of trust, acceptance, and inclusion, and to maintain it every day. That's something that we need to continuously keep going. And this is not only true for our team, but Imke also, as you said, across all the regions, across all the functions. That's something that we put on our agenda every day. And with that, I would like to close our presentation part, and I'm happy to move into Q&A session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you also from my side. We are curious for the questions.
Thank you. That was, again, so interesting. And we do have a couple of questions. So I would like to start out with a question Claire posted. What if that 50% share in the pre-hiring process, in the recruiting process for new applicants is not achieved? I mean, is there a waiver policy, or how do you deal with that in those
Super
countries?
important question. And actually, we are facing that also regularly, right? I mean, that's an ambition that we set ourselves. And then in the end, it's a business decision. We are running into this problem a couple of times. Then you need to decide, is it better to sustain and keep searching, or is the business need so high that we need to take, a judgment call, and in some cases then even proceed without that? But what I like about it is that this becomes a real top management decision, right? So we sit together, then the hiring manager with the segment head and myself as a VP, and we consciously decide, is it okay as an exception now to go ahead with a male candidate here in that case? Or do we sustain it longer and even suffer maybe a bit from it to, go the extra mile and try to look harder for more female candidates in the pipeline? So it definitely brings it on the agenda and makes it a topic. But as said, also, we have to admit it's not always easy. And of course, exceptions are possible. Right.
So the other questions, like Sylvia is asking about countries where you experience the shortage of female or proper applicants regularly. And Sarah added a specific question about field application engineers. If women are hesitant to go into those roles because they feel they are not trusted by the customers or treated equally, maybe you can comment on that as well.
Yeah. Imke, you maybe want to share some recent experiences from
Exactly. I'm happy to share because I currently have an opening, or actually 2 openings in Eastern Europe in certain countries. And as Christian explained, we were looking very hard to find a balanced pool of candidates. We worked with postings, we worked with headhunters, and it was really difficult to find female talents there. I personally think this is not so much a question of females are not accepted in the industry, or females do not get the recognition, because we do have female colleagues in the sales force, and they are very well accepted actually. Sometimes I think they even benefit to a certain degree, opening doors, because they are somewhat unique still, and this sometimes actually might be a benefit. I mean, let's be honest, sometimes that also helps. But in the recruiting, I think we still suffer in certain areas and regions from the lack of a pool of candidates, because the career profiles we are looking for, if we are looking more for technical engineering profiles, there just might not be that many candidates coming out of universities and schools. So I think this is sometimes even more a societal challenge that we are facing, which makes it an even stronger effort that we need to take to find the right candidates there. So I think it's less the role itself than the pipeline that is currently our biggest hurdle.
And if I may add to that, Imke, I mean, as you said, it's definitely a company like us who needs to play a role and you know, make it better and move it into the right direction. But there's other companies, there's more agencies, the whole society actually involved. Just to share maybe one more example that's really critical. As said, I'm also responsible for the area of India. There we also had a female applicant for a field sales role. And she was actually concerned and asked if she could join Henkel, but bring along her father to all sales meetings with customers when she's traveling the country, just for security concerns. And that was definitely eye-opening also to myself. I mean, can we somehow afford that? In the end, of course, difficult to realize. We said then, okay, maybe we find an internal inside sales setup, but that also shows you that there's so much more that needs to be accomplished by countries, by societies, step by step, moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And as a dad was mentioned, we have a question from Christine asking about age diversity. And I mean, the data is pretty clear. Again, age diversity is something, if we have a focus on that, it benefits women more, because ageism is something women in those, especially in tech roles, deal with a lot. Do you have a strategy to ensure a certain age balance on the teams?
I mean, we don't have a real goal in terms of 50-50 share as we had it for gender parity.
Right.
I think that comes more naturally, that we have a healthy composition of more experienced and more younger team members. I think that just comes naturally that the people we hire into the company are predominantly younger with less work experience, but also for specific roles, we of course looking for very experienced and advanced candidates. And also there we have then a healthy balance.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I can only add on that, I would say. So again, if I look at my team, I think the age balance is something where we are very balanced. I have very young colleagues in their 20s, early 30s. I have, let's say, a healthy mid-40s kind of set. And then also colleagues with 20, 30 years of experience that have been in their roles or similar roles for a long, long time. And again, I think that's the mix is the benefit here, because everybody brings in different strengths and perspectives. And that's, I think, the enriching part of a age-diverse group.
Absolutely. And that also relates to the previous presentation where we learned about the right balance between performance and potential, right? I mean, the performance we have with our current employees, when we hire, we actually look for potential. So we look in what this candidate might offer for the company in terms of value creation in 10 years, 15 years. And yeah, that's actually what I think is really exciting about this process.
Yeah, it sure is. Unfortunately, I have to cut it short at that time. We need a 2-day conference next year to have the opportunity to talk more about questions that come up. So for the audience, as we disappear, that means we're starting our workshop sessions. There are 6 different workshop sessions on offer, and you'll find them if you just head over to the sessions tab on the, am I pointing to the right, in the right direction? Left, on the left of your screen. And you can join one of these tables, one of these conversations as you like. Just be here again. We will meet back again on stage 5 minutes after 2 p.m. UK time. I wish you great fun with the workshop sessions, and I'll see you in about an hour.